Hi, Forward City family. I just wanted to share a little bit about what we're doing during the quarantine and what I found encouraging during this time. Aneesh and I have been long distance for a week. He is in Chatham and he's serving at the hospital and at his clinic, and I'm here in Milton with my mom in law and Daniel and Stanley. And I started rereading the book of Ruth, and I've always thought of Ruth as a bit of a pushover and a tag along, but it's actually been very encouraging to dig a bit deeper and to see what I've been missing. When you start and you're looking at the names of the characters, you look at Elimelech, whose name means God is king. You look at Naomi, whose name means pleasant, and the sons have really interesting names that mean sickness and wasting, and it's a prediction of what's to come. And Elimelech, as the leader, decides to leave Bethlehem, which means house of bread, because there is a famine. And he decides to go to Moab, which was another interesting choice because Abraham's brother Lot commits incest with his daughters. And that child that's born out of that incestuous relationship is named Moab. So Moabite women were not highly regarded by Israel. They were viewed as people that seduced Israelite men. And they go, this family, Elimelech and family, and the sons end up marrying Moabite women who we know as Orpah and Ruth. And they end up having a good relationship, Naomi and her daughter-in-laws, for all purposes. But we see that Naomi ends up saying to Ruth and Orpah, look, in this society where men are the protectors, I have nothing to give you. Like, even if I happen to get married and even if I happen to give birth to sons, you will gain nothing by staying with me. So you should go back to your families and, try again. And I hope you get married. And Orpah agrees and Ruth does not. Ruth says, no, I'm going to go back with you. And she makes this really brave stance when you think about it. She's leaving her family. She's leaving her country. She's leaving her gods. And she's deciding, you know what, no matter what, Naomi, I'm going to go with you. And to me, that is truly reflective of love, because true love sacrifices. True love pays that price. You know that whether you're in any type of loving relationship, sibling, daughter, son, mother, you are sacrificing. It's a cost. It comes at a cost. And when you look at Jesus on the cross, that's obviously the ultimate example of love paying a price. So Ruth and Naomi go, and Naomi has now changed her name. She becomes Mara, which is bitter. She says, God has, taken me and left me empty. And she gets back to Bethlehem and she's forgetting that Ruth is there, right? So I think, wow, Ruth would be like, thanks, Mom, thanks for not remembering my sacrifice. But she takes these small and consistent steps of faith in this time where everything is different. It's the barley harvest in Bethlehem, and she chooses to go out as this foreign worker and gather leftover barley just so that way they have something to eat. And thanks to God's providence, she happens to stumble upon the field of Boaz. And Boaz provides. We see this time and time again through Boaz's generosity, right? Which reflects the generosity that we are supposed to have to others to reflect Christ's love. Boaz makes sure that Ruth is returning with abundance. And Naomi is so excited. And she begins to have hope again that something can come of this broken time. And to me, even Ruth's very presence is God's provision, that even though Elimelech made a decision that perhaps was out of fear to leave Bethlehem, God chose to bring Ruth the Moabite into this picture, to bring something good from this broken circumstance. And it's so neat as a Christian to have encouragement that when we look at the whole tapestry, we may not be able to see it now, but God has a plan. God will bring meaning out of this. So this culminates with Ruth taking the ultimate step of bravery and deciding to follow Naomi's advice to meet Boaz at the threshing floor. And she could have gotten any response from Boaz. Boaz could have condemned her. Boaz could have said, no, I'm not going to marry you. But she chose to take that step of faith. And Boaz chose to have respect for Ruth, to not impinge on her modesty as a woman. And at this time, in this time of Judges, where literally the Israelite people were doing anything and everything, there really was no morality at that time. Boaz and Ruth chose to go against the grain. They chose to hold fast to their purity and to do things in a God-fearing way. And it ultimately culminates with Boaz and Ruth having Obed, who ends up becoming Naomi's grandchild and a part of the lineage of Jesus Christ. And Naomi didn't know that, right? Naomi died never knowing that Obed would be part of that lineage to the Messiah. But what encourages my heart is that when we're taking those small steps, things that seem mundane, just ordinary people living life, having children, collecting food, doing that day-to-day grind work, we don't know who will be impacted by that. We don't know how lives will be changed. And so I encourage you to keep doing what you're doing in whatever season it is, in whatever position it is, that you are glorifying God, that your work is more important than you may ever dream it will be. So I hope this encourages you too.